Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. This is your weekly live tournament show talking about the biggest and best Warhammer 40,000 tournaments coming up over the weekend. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day.
And Dustin Henshaw.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the show that happens right before it all really happens on the weekend. We have some great events to talk about. We have the Utah Open, the Racoon Rumble, second national team, the national team for Mexico, and then the Western Sydney 8-player teams event. So we got some singles, we got some teams. It's a mix of happening all around the world. How y'all feel about it?
I feel good. So, we used to struggle, like maybe it was once a month we'd do a teams event on this. We've been doing this show for 3 odd years under different monikers and different hats. But it used to be maybe once a month we had a team event worth covering. And now it's every week. Sometimes we have weeks where only team events are on, insignificant numbers. So things are moving and shaking. And we just recorded the part 2 for the last 2 weeks. We just went up on our Patreon page. And the recap from the last 2 weeks of results post MFM and changes have been absolutely wild. And it's not going to stop. This episode is also going to be wild.
This is the first episode of the next month, too. So points have reset. So there's lots to keep track of in the Patreon show if you are so inclined to join us over there for that. I want to give a nice welcome to everyone in chat. Like I said, we do this live. KR, good to see you. Steve, Dustin, that was I think you saying that we had.
That was me saying that. But thanks for welcoming me, Paul. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome back. I'm going down. You know I read what's on the teleprompter sometimes. You got to
read whatever you put on the teleprompter.
Ellen Smurfed, I hope y'all are doing well. Thanks for joining us in the chat. We have a great chat community. So while we're doing this, talking about the event, sometimes the players from those events come in and jump in. If you're listening to us after the fact on the podcast, aggregators know that you can come and chill with us here during this live show if you got the time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. The Utah Open from Provo, Utah, 121 players, 6-round event. What are we going to see there?
We will be seeing there in the Imperial's Profession. There are 7 Sisters of Battle, a single Custody player, 2 AdMech, 13 Astra Militarum, 1 Grey Knight, and 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 4 Astartes, 6 Dark Angels, 3 Space Wolves, 7 Blood Angels, and 2 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 1 Chaos Space Marine, 1 T-Sun, 8 Death Guard, 7 World Eaters, 3 Demons, and 2 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 6 Necrons, 8 Orcs, 7 Tau, and a Votan. Hive Mind, 3 Tyranids, and 3 G's they're called, evening it out. Ooh.
Parody.
Ooh. Parody, I like it. Eldari, there are 5 Drukhari and 4 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Astra Militarum, topping it off with 13. What the heck is the Cadian Gate?
It's, how we had the Golden Cliffs?
Oh, I see what you did there. But you put it as one of the faction things. I'm not reading what's on the prompter.
Yeah, so we have Astra Militarum, and then the Cadian Gate, and then
it drops down to 8. Oh, okay, yeah. I get it. I see what you did. Orcs and Death Guard after the Cadian
Gate's not there anymore.
Gate's not there anymore. No,
shush.
It's true. Isn't Cadian gone? I'm just saying. But anyway,
the Cadian Gate's here, guys. It always was.
It lives on in all of us. I see.
The planet broke before the guard did.
Okay. Orcs and Death Guard with 8, Tau, World Eaters, Blood Angels, and Sisters with 7. So that's actually really good spread aside from that drop from the Cadian Gate at 13 with the Astra Militarum.
Astra Militarum over and above the Treadheads reigning supreme out in the Salt Lake City, the greater Salt Lake City area where this is located. And yeah, apart from them, it's a beautiful thing. There still is 7 factions on the podium, despite the huge numbers of Astra Militarum.
That's like 20% or something of the...
Yes.
30-something percent of the factions available are represented in the top 3 spots. Okay.
What's 13% of 121? It's over 10%, but it's not much more than 10%. It's probably like 14 or 15%. Essentially, that's how much Astra Militarum is at this thing. And in 6 rounds, you're going to have to beat them once or twice to crack the top. Where with such extreme levels of faction representation, both here and in the next event as well, which I won't plug the lead on, I decided to do something a little different. Rather than just pulling out one list to highlight, because of course I wanted to pull out Astra Militarum list because they're so overrepresented here that I wanted to get an inkling of what is going on there. But instead, I decided to, absolutely dive bomb an hour of my life and opened up all 13 lists. And the following is a combined faction breakdown, with the exception of the odd, Cyclops demolition vehicle and a couple of other, one-ofs, single Hydras and stuff like that. This is every single unit taken by all 13 players in their representative numbers.
Go.
Yes, I don't have a life. On we go.
Look, this is data. This is information that can be turned into wisdom. All right.
If you want to know what to beat or what the most taken things are in this area or in Astra Militarum, here's something for you to know. So there's a possible 13 of each of these special characters and each of the things that can be taken, and just take that into account. So 9 Lord Solars. So 4 players didn't take Lord Solar in
Mad
those,
lads.
which I'm starting to not put Lord Solar
You're
in
also
every one of my
mad lad.
lists. 7 Gaunt's Ghosts. So well over half there, or not well over half, but half. 5 Ursula Creed.
Well over half.
Shush.
One's over half. It's well over half.
Hey, I'm math good. I don't math good. I write now down number good. I count. 5 Ursula Creeds, 11 platoon command squads, 8 Militarum Tempestus command squads, so silent command squads, 8 Primaris Psychers, which is huge, a huge number of Primaris Psychers. I was ready to cut them from this list because I thought it was only going to be about 2 or 3, and then the last couple of lists I looked at were like 3, and I'm like, oh my god.
Wow.
11 tank commanders, so nearly every list on average has a tank commander. 4 units of 10 Death Corps and 4 units of 20 Death Corps. So definitely the 20 man's coming into the fore now, and that will show to be the case for the others as well. 8 units of 10 regular infantry, 3 units of 20 infantry, and I do have to tell you that all 3 of those units are in the same list, which is hilarious. 14 units of 10 Catachans, 1 unit of 20 Catachans, 8 units of 10 Cadians, 2 units of 20 Cadians, 7 units of 10 Scions, 9 units of 5 Scions, 5 Taurox Primes, and 4 of those are in the list that has the Primaris Psychers in it. 15 Chimeras, so an average of at least 1 Chimera per army. 5 units of 6 Bulgrin, which is way less than it would have been a month ago. 7 Hellhounds, 5 Leman Rush Exterminators, 6 Leman Rush Battle Tanks, 18 Rogel Dawns. So over one, so more than 1 on average per list of Rogel Dawns. So definitely have to have a Dawn solution in your list. Only 8 units of Aquilons. And I'm assuming that's a model scarcity thing rather
availability. Although chat's pointing
else.
out that some information has been
Correct.
maybe put out there for the big event coming up pretty soon for World Championships, which is interesting.
Yes, indeed, and we can talk about that possibly at the end of this. And then lastly, rounding out this full faction breakdown, 6 Armored Sentinels and then 21 Scout Sentinels, and most of those are singles. The Armored Sentinels are units, but most of the Scout Sentinels are in fact singles.
That is a lot less exterminators than I was expecting.
Me too, mate. Me too. So my prediction post MFM was that the people would go back to the Leman Russes away from the Rogel Dawns. That has not been the case. The Rogel Dawns are holding fast as the standby mainline battle tank. Because I would have said way more exterminators, way more battle tanks is what I expected. There was a couple of vanquishers, a couple of demolishers, but there was less than if there was 3 or less of any entry, I cut it from the list.
Well, aren't like most of those tank commanders demolishers?
Every single one. Every single.
Yeah, so that's where the demolishers are coming
yeah,
in.
Exactly right. Exactly freaking right. Less Scions than I actually thought. I thought there'd be more units of 10 Scions. But I am a ravenous Scion stan, so I do not chagrin anybody else for doing that. But the Taurox Primes and the Chimera numbers, so the transport numbers are still pretty reasonable. It's actually a little bit lower than I would have thought. I would have thought we would have seen more, but with more and more players starting to take units of 20, like we have a total of 7, 8, 9, 10 units of 20 infantry being taken across 13 lists. So that's almost every list taking 20, a brick of 20.
Well, that's to include like attached Lord Solar, right? Is that what we're okay?
Usually they'll get a platoon command squad, a Primaris Psyker, and Lord Solar attached to them. So they'll all have a 4-up invulnerable save. They'll be regenning, of course, the Death Core varieties. And it's a great thing to use your 2 CP on get back once per game. Like, oh, cool, you managed to dig through these 20 guys with a 4-up invulnerable save, 2 CP. They're coming back, baby.
I like what you pointed out a few minutes ago. Like you have to have a guard solution. Like the Astra Militarum are a force you can predict that you will face them, and so you want to be able to handle it when you do. That could be round 1, that could be round 6, but you're going to battle through at least one list at these events. It's almost guaranteed if you're doing well.
Yeah. And yeah, the 100%, the only real like mind-boggler one here is the Aquilons, which, like you said, mate, might just be hobby lag. Might just be people haven't had the time to go get the models to source them accurately, get them painted up to match the rest of their army. And but yeah, only 8 units is on the lower side. I mean, I wouldn't be taking a list without 20 right now if I was planning to win
Wow.
something of this size. But yeah, only 8, and a couple of those are double ups. Like there are a couple lists here that have 2 units in them out of the 13. So on average, people have 10 or none.
Crazy.
But yeah,
This is the part of the show where we pick what do we think is going to win? What do we think is going to win this thing? We actually make a prediction, and that part 2 show that we talk about, or that we talked about earlier for our Patreon subscribers of tier 2 and above, we see how well we did. We actually run down the whole the winners of the event, the top 10, pull out a couple of extra lists and talk about them. But we also score each other on some points, and so the order in which one picks here has some impact, maybe on the points that one scores.
yes. So I won't tell you who came first, but I will tell you I came last. So I'm picking first, and it's actually I came last month, so I figure I get to pick first, at least for the first event this week.
I feel like I know where I
2
placed
points
in that.
this month, Adam.
Shush. Dustin or Paul, one of you guys throw out a name here. Whoever gets in first.
Go for it, Paul.
Okay, thank you. How about I'm going to go with Tau.
Yep, not a bad pick,
Okay,
especially
okay.
into all the guard meta. I think the Tau can build pretty effectively into guard.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
What would you like there, Dusty?
I'm going to go something spicy. And I'm going to say Death Guard.
Ooh, not as spicy, because we just recorded our part 2s from the last 2 weeks, and Death Guard made the top 10 of every single event we covered for the last 2 weeks. Death Guard made the top 10. Not necessarily always making the top 3, but every single top 10. So just letting you guys know, Death Guard is absolutely on the rise. The stank indeed does spread.
There we go. And look, Nurgle Matt just joined us in the chat. And also, yeah, we are going to be talking about the Australian event coming up in Australia,
Yeah,
Tabletop Wargame Network in the chat
well,
as well.
That is Scotty D. I want to say happy birthday to Scotty D. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but happy birthday, brother.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Next event we're going to be talking about is the Racoon Rumble from Hof, Germany. 201 players, 6-round event. Is this why David Hasselhoff is so popular in Germany?
It must be.
Is this town named after him?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not the Hoff, so I don't think it's named after him.
Well, it doesn't translate the same way. We're reading it in English.
Oh, I see what you said. Okay, sure. Das Hoff.
What are we going to see there?
The Imperial Super Faction. There is a single Imperial Agents Hero, 7 Sisters of Battle, 7 Custos, 2 Admech, 14 Astra Militarum, 2 Grey Knights, 9 Imperial Knights. Space Marines are 7 Adeptus Astartes, 5 Dark Angels, 7 Space Wolves, 7 Blood Angels, then 4 Black Templar? Okay. Chaos, there's 13 Chaos Space Marines, so they're all here apparently. 5 T-Suns, 14 Death Guard, 6 World Eaters, 4 Demons, and 11 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 15 Necrons, 10 Orcs, 5
Here it
Tau,
comes. Here it comes.
21 Votan.
What in
They're
the
not messing
absolute...
around.
What is going on?
21. What?
Yeah.
I
even went and freaking checked.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, moving on. Hive Mind, there's 9 Tyranids and 7 G-Circle Eldari. There is 5 Drukhari and 4 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Votan topping it with 21. And then I don't know what kind of cliff we call this, but Necrons.
Yeah.
Oh, you got one?
I was going to leave it open to you guys, if you guys could think of a cliff, or if we could think of
the Judgment Cliff.
The Judgment Cliff.
The Cliff of Judgment.
Cliff of Judgment. There it is. The Cliff of Judgment. There it is.
We did it.
All right, so Votan at 21, and then the Cliff of Judgment to Necrons at 15, Death Guard and Astra Militarum at 14, Chaos Space Marines at 13, and then Chaos Knights at 11. What is going on with the Hoff with 21 Votan. Is David Hasselhoff a Votan player? That is my question to you guys.
Yeah, buck wild. Of course he is.
He has to be.
21 Votan does sound pretty crazy. Like, what have they figured out list tech wise that the world is going to wake up to on Monday?
Let's find out.
So, let's talk about the rest of the faction breakdown for a little bit here before I get into the silliness that I have concocted. The Space Marines have.
I was like,
I know.
We segged it so well, and you ruined it.
Let's
You
do it.
threw it aside.
All right, because of course I did the first. The Utah Open first, and I did the Astra Militarum breakdown there because they were such an outlier. When I did the Hoff, and there was freaking 21 Votan, naturally I had to do the same thing, right? Because I couldn't do it for that big a disparity, not do it for this big a disparity. So following is the entire breakdown of every single unit delineated in all 21 Votan lists. And unlike the Guard one, where I had to cut a bunch because there was like outliers and random ass Cyclops demolition vehicles, this is every single unit, every single one. And here we go.
Bam.
Loosen my jaw. 9 Iron Masters, 27 Iron Here Champions, 7 Carls, 4 Grimniers, 33 units of 10 Warriors, 54 Sagittars. Someone do the math. What's 54 divided by 21? That's like less than 3, more than 2. 15 units of 5 Berserkers, 27 units of 10 Berserkers.
Of 10?
10. The 10 man's absolutely like almost doubling the units of 5. 7 units of 10 Hearthguard, 8 units of 5 Hearthguards. So sitting about parity. That's fair and correct. A single unit of Thunderkin, which if this was Astra Militarum would have been cut. 39 land forts, almost 2 per list. Almost 2 per list.
Yep.
26 units of 6 Pioneers, 18 units of 3 Pioneers. So very similar to the Berserkers, where the units of 6 are now like taken in way more numbers than the units of 3. And then lastly, 17 units of Jaegers. So there's a couple, almost every list took 10. I only think I saw one list that took 20. And then the rest had none or whatever. But that is every single unit in all 21 lists.
Sagittarius is still a thing.
I don't know that I've seen this many of these units ever assembled in the same place at the same time.
Go to Germany.
Yes.
You see them right now. This week.
Dude, 54 Sagittars, 39 land forts. Like
2 land forts is the number. I like that number.
I went into a flow state when when I had 21 tabs open, and I was just like, "Yep, sick." It's either 1 or 2 Iron Here champions, sometimes an Iron Master, sometimes a Carl, either 10 or 20 warriors. There's never 30 and there's never 0. It's either 10 or 20. It's either 2 or 3 Sagittars. Some crazies had 4 or 5, but mostly it's 2 or 3. And then it's 1 unit of 5 Berserkers, 2 units of 10 Zerkers, either 5 and 10 Hearthguard or none, 2 land forts, 6/6/3 Pioneers or 3/3/6 Pioneers and 10 Jaegers. And that was just pretty much like 18 of the 21 lists.
Were there any lists with 3 Hecatons and some with none, or was it mostly?
So there was I believe there was 2 lists that were what I would be calling pushing the T6 skew that had Hecatons, Pioneers, and Hearthguard, because then all you have is toughness 6 and toughness 12, and that list is really good at just being like dominant into some matchups where people just have the wrong guns to even scratch your paint. And so I did see a couple of lists pushing that skew, but the Berserker numbers was the one that really surprised me.
That's crazy.
The fact that there are so many units of 10 Berserkers compared to the 5s. What are they hunting, do you think? Like, what are you, because I don't know if you got a second poll to bring up their data sheet, because I'm curious what is the super value here into the meta.
Honestly, I think it's their fighting death.
Yeah, I think the fight on death and the Space Wolf stuff, that we've seen out there, maybe, or that type of list. But they do get that's their thing, the fight on death.
Well, 4-up, but they do fight on death, which is
it's a threat, right?
It's a threat.
It's a problem.
That has to be calculated.
Looking at the faction breakdown, so that is very good into Death Guard with their fights first, just fighting on death into Plague Marines, really good. Chaos Space Marines with all their Legionaries and Chosen and stuff like that is very good, and Chaos Knights, that's very good. So 3 of the factions on the faction podium, just having a baseline of I might fight on death with 8 of these dudes or 4, of my 10, if you kill them, and just easy 1-for-1 trade you, no problem. So that 100%, that's a problem.
They do
Eh,
have some subterranean explosives, I think, which
The mole
lowers the
launchers.
movement of some monsters and stuff.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
the mole launcher, yeah. And well, I didn't have a chance to check if every single one of them had a mole launcher. I just assumed that they do.
I think you can
You
assume
just
it.
you gotta assume it's free, baby, free value.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
that fight on death, I think, is probably pretty important because it just put so many bad trades
There's a
you could
lot of
have.
melee armies in there. Like, you got a Blood Angels,
Yeah.
the Death Guard fights for even Space Wolves, and just you need that threat when you're behind a wall on objectives. Like, sure, you can come and take this from me with melee, but
Yeah.
you might die in return and get
Yeah,
grudged.
correct.
Like, there's just a lot
I
of things
mean,
that can go wrong.
there are strong numbers of Tyranids here, 9 Tyranids, 10 Orcs, 15 Necrons. Necrons, can have the Lich Guard, can have the Scorpic Destroyers now as well. Good numbers of Chaos Demons, good numbers of Death Guard, good numbers of Chaos Space Marines. All the melee Astartes are taken here. It's like, 7 Space Wolves, 7 Blood Angels, 4 Black Templars. All the Dark Angels have some melee. All Astartes have some melee. And then, 7 Sisters of Battle, Astra Militarum may have a little bit of melee, but there's good numbers of Imperial Knights as well. So, fighting on death with 10 Zerkers into Canis Rex might just be the thing that, takes him over the line next turn, especially if they've got double judgment counters on him, which they will.
Yeah.
And going back to the faction podium with Necrons being number 2 there, like, what is happening?
Well, that's where I think the 6 Pioneers love. The 6 Pioneers love the uppy downy Necron stuff because they're a threat on the Overwatch to all their little, single destroyers, 5 death mark stuff like that. 6 Pioneers can absolutely waste that unit on the Overwatch, denying, behind enemy lines, engage, and all those things. And then when you pull them off the board, they have to really worry about whether they're going to uppy down and push stuff around the table and expose their flanks and let 6 Pioneers come in their back line, maybe smash their Immortals, take a chunk out of their supporting units and stuff like that. So I really like the 6 Pioneers into the meta at the moment, especially with that faction breakdown. I think 6 Pioneers are fantastic into pretty much everything here, except for a Chaos Knight that doesn't have any judgment tokens. Apart from that.
Yeah.
Well, Germany, get ready for it. It's going to be a lot.
If you're not ready for Votan, you're in for a bad time.
Yeah.
So what's winning this thing?
Well, I picked first. Dustin picked last. So, Dustin, take your pick, mate.
I can take my pick. I want to take Votan, but I'm not going to.
One of us has to take Votan.
One of us has to take Votan, though. It's just not going to be me.
Fair. What do you want?
With all the stuff in here, you know what? I think I'm actually going to go Astra Militarum.
Fair. Paul, what would you like?
I'm going Votan just for the sheer
there you
numbers.
Go.
Good man. I mean, you can't not bet on that statistic, right?
Yeah.
To just get a podium. What do I want? Do I want the Necrons? Yeah, I'll go the Necrons.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Halfway through, boys. Got 2 more events to go.
No, look, we're going to cover a lot of, all the 40K. This is
all
big events happening all over the world. And, what are you doing to me with this next one?
Yeah, so I typed out the English translation so people knew what it was, and then just for you, Paul, I put in the Mexican.
We truly do not mean any disrespect when we pronounce these things. I just want to point that out, that we do our absolute best when it's names and places and events. We definitely want to give the utmost respect to those regions and the players there. But I'm going to do my best here. Next one we're going to be covering here is the Segundo Nacional de Equipos from Leon, Mexico.
Oh, bravo.
Man. What were you worried about?
75-player, 15 teams of 5 over 5 round event. Love to see it.
So for the
what are we going to see there?
For the Imperial faction, there are 3 Sisters of Battle, 4 Custodes, 3 AdMech, 8 Astra Militarum, 5 Grey Knights, Space Marines, there's 2 Adeptus Astartes, 5 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 1 Blood Angel, and 3 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 3 Chaos Space Marines, 4 T-Suns, 2 Death Guard, 1 World Leader, and 1 Demon. Xenos, there's 3 Necrons, 2 Orcs, 4 Tau, and 3 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 7 Tyranids and no GSC. Eldari, there's 4 Eldari and no Drukhari. Ooh. The faction podium is Adeptus Astartes topping off now with 13. Astra Militarum again with 8. Tyranids behind them with 7. And then Dark Angels and Grey Knights right behind them with 5.
We should have mentioned that in a team event, you can't replicate the faction more than once, and so
Yeah.
anything coming close to that halfway point, we think is a pretty solid showing for what the players in that area think is strong.
Mm.
So like really,
Yeah,
we're looking at
100%.
Astra Militarum. It's the only one aside from Adeptus Astartes that broke that 50% mark. Tyranids right
50%
behind
mark.
them, though, like almost where the 50%
Yeah.
was 7. Everybody
So-
else is just really well spread, which again, we'll say it again because we say it every time this happens. That means the meta is very healthy.
So with some exceptions, I'll say this meta is healthy. So
Well,
this
yeah,
is a
with some
great.
exceptions.
This is a great.
It's never
snapshot.
perfect.
No, this is a great snapshot into the Mexican, I guess, the Mexican gaming culture, the spice and flavor of that region, because there are no knights, 0 big stompy robots, no Chaos Knights, no Imperial Knights, 0 taken in teams where they can be very strong. Still 0 taken, 0 Gene Stealer Cult, and 0 Drakari in addition. So there are some big meta omissions here. We have seen Sakari take some pretty significant hits, so not super surprised there that they may be still in the formulation period before people feel confident enough to take them to team events. But GSC absolutely on the rise. But once again, it's a very hard army to just collect and have ready on the shelf on the fly. But the no knights is kind of stunning, and I think might definitely be a geographical flavor of the region.
The reason you're saying that, because in team events, there's the process of pairings and matchings that you have to go through. The captains and the players do each round, and sometimes the knights can be create some weird calculus for the players on the other side. So
Mm.
some people may opt to have them in their pack of 5 or 8 or whatever, and so it is definitely an outlier to not see that represented here.
Indeed. The choice of Space Marines, because of course in team events we always like to see where people decide to spend their Space Marine token. Dark Angels being over and above the most taken here in representative 5. Blood Angels very low comparatively. We're usually, most of the time we see Blood Angels and Dark Angels usually trading for first place at team events. It's usually only 1 or 2 lists differentiating them. But yeah, Dark Angels over and above Blood Angels in this one. Black Templar is actually having a strong showing, which I think is kind of nice. In the Chaos Super faction, way less world eaters than we would see in other parts of the world, but way more Thousand Suns than we would see in some parts of the world right now also. So definitely making up for it there in one way or another. Very much of the much on the Xeno side. Tau in good representation. Necron's just doing just fine. Voten the same. A little low on the Orc side. Tyranid holding very strong with great numbers there as well. Also,
I think they're taking the place of the Knights in this particular
very well could be
pack of
Yeah.
teams because of things like the Norns and their ability to hold objectives and create those math issues.
Absolutely right. Okay, let's have a little gaze in. So naturally, because we had 2 team events and 2 other events we were going to cover, I haven't done full list breakdowns for these because it would just take too long. It's because I spent a phenomenal amount of time doing the full faction breakdowns for Guard and Votan that hopefully you enjoyed. But what we do have is just the faction and detachment for a couple of the top teams in this event and the following one. So this is Art Hobbies or Arth Hobbies. I don't know which is which, but this is mostly, I think at least three of the 5 here represented Mexico at the WTC this year. So definitely a team to watch. They start off with an Astra Militarum Combined Regiment, of course, a Necron's Hypercrypt, a Chaos Demons, Demonic Incursion, Adeptus Mechanicus Rad Zone Core, and then an Eldari Battle Host. So that is their 5-pack, just conceptually. And we can just assume they are good, strong archetypes of their representative factions. But what do you make of that 5-pack, Dusty?
It's interesting. The Chaos Demons and the AdMech are obviously the outliers in terms of what you'd bring. You want to have some faction specials, but they work well. Chaos Demons can actually pair very well with Necrons, and Adeptus Mechanicus can pair very well with Astra Militarum, depending on the builds. And then Eldari is just a singles list that will get points regardless. So, conceptually, it's actually very strong.
Yeah, I quite like it because there's a couple of lists here that could be used as brick factions or as just kind of drown people in value, like the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Eldari. They can pretty much just play to not get dominated, whilst the Chaos Demons and Necrons and the Astra Militarum try and push for the big differentials. Anything jumping out here, you, Paul?
To me, I think the Adeptus Mechanicus is like the spoiler. Like most people just aren't familiar with quite all the rules and the synergies of that list, and they can put out a lot of firepower.
Especially the Rad Zone. If you don't know what it does, you can get really messed up by it.
They're going even further down that rabbit hole because they're not taking the Hunter cohort, which is probably the only one people have been bad touched by. realistically, since the Codex came out. I've played only against Skitarii Hunter cohorts since that book came out. I haven't played a
seen
single
some
game
Rad
against the
Zone
Rad
show up and actually do really well.
Me too.
It's just not.
Yeah, me too.
It's not the popular choice, but it's
Yeah,
good.
so I reckon they're cooking some jank here. Where I mean, because the Rad Zone punishes you for staying back.
Yeah.
Against them, they kind of just tick over mortal wounds in your deployment zone. Then sometimes, well, usually you'd have the enhancement, so it's 6 inches out of your deployment zone. So people just want to stay back and play for like the 10-10. The Rad Zone actually punishes you for that. So I actually kind of like that as the psychological play in
force
teams.
the interaction, come out into those fire zones. I don't know how they got the list built, of course, but they can pack a lot of the last cannons, which can just mess up and guard that have to come out of the deployment zone.
Everybody's familiar with the shenanigans that gargoyles can do to you by like keeping you boxed in and keeping you contained. Adeptus Mechanicus do very similar things with their birdie boys, being the Skystalkers and the Taurasi. And should they just wall you in for that 6 inches outside your deployment zone and start ticking over a few more mortal wounds to get them over a couple of breakpoints, it can start to really pile up on you and get a little bit problematic. So we'll see. But yeah, apart from that, the Chaos Demons is the one to watch. The Chaos Demons in teams especially have been showing to be a bit of a powerhouse. Ever since WTC, they've been popping up kind of everywhere, just with really strong lists, avoiding 1 or 2 matchups and then absolutely dominating.
What we do at team events, instead of picking a team that's going to win, because it's kind of impossible to break down all the teams and get that clear intelligence, we pick a faction we think is going to come away with the highest battle points. There's no I guess assessment or tie to how well the team had done, just what faction is going to come out with the highest battle points. That's what we look for in the team events and what we predict. So I guess in that case, do I pick first this time? I think.
Yep, it's your turn.
Who picked last? Yeah, I think you do pick first, Paul.
I don't know what I want though.
Oh,
we come back to me. No,
sure.
No. See, I'm going to go with Tyranids. So.
Ooh. You're not going to cuss him out there, Dustin? Fair enough. What would you like, mate?
I'm not going to cuss him out. Why would I?
For a strong pick?
For a strong pick? But yeah, well, it's a good pick.
What are you taking?
Oh, me?
Yeah. Oh, you.
Oh,
wow. One of the hosts of the show. Jeez. Whew.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Right, I'm here too. I'll take Astra Militarum.
Good man.
You gonna cuss me out?
No. You're good. Why would I cuss you out? You're taking such a logical, strong faction. Yeah, see?
He's going to take Blood Angels.
No, there's only one of them. I would just do it just to live the dream. But it's just one Blood Angel. It's just hard to. You know what? I'm doing it. Just because.
There we go.
Because to complete the trifecta.
And now you're gonna win this for sure.
Yeah, hilarious. So if you don't know, we all have our traditional kind of meme picks. Mine is Dark Angels and Astra Militarum. Dustin is anything Hive Mind, so GSC or Tyranids, and Paul's is Blood Angels. And so we've all picked each other's meme pick.
Paul started it. It's his fault.
Like it when we can do this sometimes. Max Wolf saying, can't wait to see some of us in Atlanta in a few weeks. That'll be absolutely awesome. Come by and say hello. It's going to be a great time. Next event we're going to be covering is the Western Sydney 8-player team event from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. 96 players, 12 teams of 8. Sydney is down in the bottom right corner. Is that right?
So the bottom third of the right coast, which is the east.
No, I wouldn't go to guess at the geography. I just here's
you
down
guess
here
the
somewhere.
Distance
right?
to London, though.
So if this is Australia, Sydney's like there.
Okay, but we're looking at it a different
side.
way, so yeah. Now I'm more confused.
All the way over here?
I mean,
I thought it was
you're
up
over there. I'm here. You're there. All right.
Yeah.
Pigeon distance. Sydney to Melbourne. So Sydney to London.
Sydney to London. Oh. 8,603 miles.
Wow.
8,603 miles. Okay. 8,600.
Yeah.
So you're a little low, but not as much as you think, because it's 10,000 miles.
Okay.
Well, which way are you going? Because that closest route, because I was.
Oh, that's true. You could be going the other way.
That's airline. That's the airline travel distance.
That doesn't mean it's the closest.
That doesn't mean it's the closest. How many miles is it? So it's 16,000 kilometers. Straight shoot fly. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Good enough. Like within 1,500. That's pretty funny.
Oh, so what are we going to see there? 96 players, 12 teams of 8.
For the Imperial Superfaction, there are 4 Sisters of Battle, 6 Custodes, 3 Admech, 5 Astra Militarum, 2 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 2 Adeptus Astartes, 2 Dark Angels, 3 Space Wolves, and 2 Blood Angels. Chaos, there's 4 Chaos Space Marines, 5 T-Suns, 4 Death Guard, 7 World Eaters, 3 Demons, and 7 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 5 Necrons, 7 Orcs, 1 Tau, and 5 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 8 Tyranids, 3 Genes to their cult. Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari and 1 Eldari. Medium faction podium, again, with 12 teams. So none of them can be represented more than 12 times. Adeptus Astartes at 9. Tyranids at 8. World Eaters, Chaos Knights, and Orcs at 7. And Custodes at 6. So all of those are at 50% or more representation.
Very good faction breakdown here with what another time we had 6 factions make the podium. Technically, I mean, I always put an extra slot in for team events because Adeptus Astartes is just kind of an auto number 1 almost all the time. So I feel like the podium starts after Adeptus Astartes, but I have to denote it just because it's good to know how many teams didn't take Astartes more often than not. But what are you guys seeing here as the spice? It's actually very low on the Adeptus Sororitas. From what could be. It's only a third of teams to exist.
If I want to talk about spice, I'm talking about orcs being represented in more than half of
Custodes.
Yeah, baby. Orcs and Custodes.
A lot of people are saying Custodes are back.
I think Custodes are actually very good for teams.
In 8 players? Absolutely.
Yeah, for 8 players, absolutely.
Yeah, spot on.
But there's not a lot of chatter about orcs.
So I guess the orcs, they could definitely do it. They're good. They are a good army, and especially in teams where you can focus on it. Where you see some of the lists that are going and doing well in singles, actually. There's no way that you bring a singles list of orcs to a team event, though, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it kind of can be the same list. Like the same Warhorde list functions has the double role where only about 300, 400 points can change if you wanted to tailor it. But I think especially in teams, orcs have a much wider breadth of lists that they can play. Especially Bully Boys and Green Tide, I think get a lot of get a lot better in teams. And then Dread Mob, if you don't have someone else that wants to hunt the light table, can do okay. But with Guard being so strong, with a couple other really big shooting lists being so strong, I don't really see Dread Horde as being the way to go because you might have too much table competition. The Space Marine faction breakdown is really nice. Like it is very close. 2 Vanilla Astartes, 2 Dark Angels, 3 Space Wolves, 2 Blood Angels, no Templars, but no specific significant outlier there. So it's a good spread. But I really want to point out the juxtaposition between this and the Mexican meta, where there was no Knights, and we have almost 50% representation of Imperial Knights and over 50% representation of Chaos Knights. Do you guys reckon that's just the size? Like in 8 player events, Knights just get more value because they have more ability to just hunt and dodge and pin?
You have more opportunity to take more factions, and when you want to have some different pairing lists against some of the lists that are out there, then 8-man gives you a lot more opportunity to use the Knights, I think. And 5-man, it's harder to get the Knights into the matches you want because it's easier for your opponents to get at least one of those Knights into a bad match that they don't want. 8-man, I think it's a little easier to maneuver that, and that makes them a lot stronger in that and a lot scarier because nobody's going to have that many lists that are like, I'll dummy Knights for sure. But they'll have 1 or 2.
Correct. We had a little bit of a statement in chat that I just want to address. So KR Quinn pointed out that we didn't cover Cali Cup. So we're making a concerted effort on the show to get the biggest geological spread of events as possible because this is a global community. It's a global game. And like it or not, unfortunately, most of the time I will pick the biggest event from a certain region. And unfortunately, Utah had 21 more players than Cali Cup. That's pretty much the only reason I didn't cover Cali Cup. And
we did cover a big California or West Coast centered event. So don't worry. We're going to get back around. Like there's definitely happening.
100% we will. But I just wanted to point that out. When I get 100-player event from one region, I feel like it's doing disrespect to the rest of the world. If I take another 100-player event from like upstate, it feels a bit rough to the fact that we had like a 75-player Mexican event, 100-player Australian event, 100. Yeah. You get the idea. But yeah, just wanted to address that because that is our as chasers of the meta, we want to chase the whole freaking meta. Like all of it.
Worldwide.
All at once, baby. No breaks.
I want to put a slight caveat on this. Is like we're going to none of that is true. Oh, sorry, all of that is true. None of that is true. Is what I meant to say.
Adam doesn't know what he's talking about.
Like, yeah, No, the Patreon subscribers can also influence some of the events
Absolutely.
that we cover as well. So, if there are something that's coming up that you want us to focus on, and you're one of those tiers that can, like, basically almost practically demand it, make sure to send us those DMs so we can be on our radar if you don't think it is.
I just want to say thank you, KR Queen. You've been an absolute lad for many a year in our chats. So definitely no disrespect to you, sir. Thank you for the question. In fact, gives us a reason to tell us what our modus operandi of the show is as it evolves, as the meta and the world changes. We always want to keep you guys informed of what we're doing, what's moving and shaking.
Oh,
I have one team to break down from this event.
Do it.
This is the Horsemen, which are very likely to win. A couple of Team Australia players who got that coveted first win at WTC playing on this team. There's also a couple of players in this event who also represented Australia in years gone by. But this is definitely people's pick to win this one. Starts off with Orc Bully Boys. Already hitting some spice. Then we have Adeptus Mechanicus, Skitari Hunter Cohort, Death Guard Play Company, Chaos Space Marines, Renegade Raiders, Gene Stealer Cults, Outlander Claw, Dark Angels, Gladius Strike Force, Drukari, Sky Splinter, and a Bringers of Flame of Adeptus Sororitas. And that is their 8-pack. A couple of things missing here that some people would have expected to see. No Astra Militarum. No Astra Militarum, guys, in their 8-pack. How dare they? No, I think it's totally fine as long as you have built-in ways to smash other people's Astra Militarum so you don't feel like you're missing out. I think it's totally fine not to take them, especially if you just assume everyone else is going to have it.
True. It's true. It's crazy in 8-man to not see Astra Militarum in the teams, but like you said, it's absolutely, you don't need them.
But look at the outliers here. Gene Cults, Drukari, Orcs, Admech. They're
playing all the jank.
All the jank.
Yeah, I mean, but Death Guard, I mean, maybe not so much now, but there's everything's counterplays.
As far as I can tell, they've taken 3 conventional faction choices in Death Guard, Dark Angels Gladius, and Bringers of Flame, and the rest of it they're just gonna push. How many reps do you have into this list? How many times have you played into the new version of Orc Bully Boys? How many times have you played into a top-level Skitari Hunter Cohort? How many times have you played into Outlander Claw? How many times have you played into Sky Splinter? And a lot of times people are going to be like, twice, maybe? And, people are just
no, what they're going to be is, what's that rule again? What's it do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's going to be real good. I very much like their 8-pack, and I expect them to do extremely well, gents.
Yep, for sure.
And something is also interesting that I've noticed that, when you do pull out the list that have, some of the top ranked players or lists or teams that have historically done well in that environment, they typically do have some of that little spicy bits that we have noticed in the faction breakdowns.
Well, that's the thing. So if you have a team, let's say at the WTC, Team France is a beautiful example. Let's say you have Team France, and then you have I'll just throw out Team Germany. Team Germany, this is not what happened. This is just an example. Team Germany have 8 very conventional, great singles lists. And then Team France has 5 very good singles lists, and then 3 really weird skews. But the players are completely equal of strength. Almost every time, I'll pick the weird skewed team to win. Almost every freaking time I would pick them to win if they're equal strength players, because it just adds up to such a different and such a conundrum in the pairings process. Whereas one team can pair very conventionally, not having to worry about too much, or if their data is correct or their practice is correct. Whereas the other team always has this knowledge sort of Damocles being you think you know, but you might not. So if you don't, is this a blowout? Is this you losing just off of one single mistake in the pairings process? Or is this having a different, or 2 players rocking up to a table with different expectations of the outcome? And those are the levers you really want to pull. And the best teams do it so well.
What faction we think is going to be the highest battle point finisher?
Is it my turn to pick it first again?
I think so.
I guess.
GSC.
You son of a...
I know who the GSC player is.
So do I, you son of a...
Dustin, you can pick next.
I don't want to.
You can cuss me out if you want now.
I'm definitely cussing you, you son of...
Cold-blooded.
Yeah, you go, Paul.
Absolutely
Go ahead.
God-loaded.
I got to think.
There
of
is if I was to say, if you don't know about some of the other players, there are extremely strong Marine players, extremely strong AdMech players at this event as well, who are things you guys wouldn't know that I know because of.
Yeah, and you still picked first. I thought that was
Australia.
a rule you couldn't do that.
Well, it just happened that way. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, that's weird. It's weird, man.
I
How
am
did that happen?
go ask for military.
That's fair.
All right, Dustin, what would you like, mate?
Oh, hell, I don't know.
Demons.
Demons? Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do demons. No. Okay. That's Paul said that. I didn't say that. I'm going to go weird. I'm going to take AdMech.
Nice. I think that is a very good choice.
Yeah, I do too. I think they're definitely going to be on the rise in these next few weeks. We're going to see some AdMech hitting the billboards, lighting up the charts.
Sam Lemon, I did very much enjoy seeing your team name. I'm not reading it out.
We're not reading it out, but it's a great name, Sam. We love it.
Fantastic name.
Oh my goodness. So that is the crunchy part of the show. If you are new here, we're about to do a segment we call the Fuego Rapido, which sometimes has very little to do with Warhammer at all. It is silly. It is a segment where we give ourselves a clock. And then that clock is 2 minutes long. We give ourselves a topic. At the end of the clock's going to start ticking down. When that clock expires, we abandon the topic, never to return to it again. Unless you do are a Patreon subscriber and want to revisit a topic, or we trail on. If it's super good, we're going to probably keep it going.
It's true. That's happened a couple times.
But this segment is the part that is just a little bit of nonsense here. After we've been talking about the meta, and the numbers, and crunching, and all the stuff, and victories and losses, and here we are just to get a bit of a chill as we lead ourselves into the weekend. Sometimes these have something to do with 40K, sometimes they don't.
This one definitely
doesn't have a theme. This one is what smells in
what
here.
Smells in here. That's the theme.
Oh no.
Oh, it's not what you think it is, but it's just stuff about smelling. I just wanted to find a funnier name for it.
It's not Nurgle and Death Guard related, Fuego.
No.
Because that would have been clever.
That was going to be the idea, but I couldn't think of enough questions. Okay, so first one. What is your favorite smell?
Ooh. It's gotta be like something sweet bacon in the oven.
Sweet bacon, like a pie or something
bacon.
specific.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Lavender. I was actually going to say lavender too,
Yeah,
Sam. I actually really like lavender. I don't know. Now that I think about it, though, I don't know if I actually really like lavender or I've just become so accustomed to it because my wife is obsessed with it and everything in our house smells like lavender. She has sprayed my pillow to make it smell like lavender every night.
My first love, like first girl I ever fell in love with, she had this like conditioner. The only conditioner she used in her hair. That's my favorite smell. Every time I smell it now, I have no idea what it is, mate. But ever since then, like it's just so set into my neurological pathways. That's just like my favorite smell now. Yeah, it's bizarre. I wash my hair with something that smells like it now.
Oh, okay. So shampoo is Adam's favorite smell, or conditioner.
Yeah.
Sorry, conditioner.
Conditioner.
My favorite smell is definitely food related. Like it's gotta be.
Food-related.
I think of some other things, but it's all food.
Ooh, actually,
Oh,
bring up a good point there, Paul. Gumbo. The smell of
gumbo.
Yeah.
I've never really smelled like a good aroma gumbo before.
Ooh, it's so good.
Like I love gumbo. I've tasted it. I don't know if I've actually like had a really good aroma gumbo. I've walked in
Like it's just like
ooh.
burbling on the stove for like 6 hours.
Oh yeah. Anytime I've had it at home, it's definitely not been doing that for 6 hours. It should.
Well, you're doing it wrong.
I know. I absolutely have done it wrong. I've never made a good gumbo. Okay. Like I've made a
Like
decent
things smoking
gumbo.
for a long time on the on a
Oh
slow
yeah.
cooker or something.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
someone
like the,
smoking a brisket.
like a
Yeah,
brisket.
hell yeah.
Oh, the briskets.
Good choice.
They have the good. Oh yeah. Okay. Nice. Garlic is an option. I do live in an Italian household, so I definitely like the smell of garlic.
Garlic and butter. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. What do you keep wanting to smell despite the fact that it doesn't smell good? And you know you do it.
Why would you write this one?
Oh, trying to think of something. What would I put myself through?
There's a couple like For Paul, there's a couple like spices and stuff. That
Don't put me in the middle of this.
No, this is you. This is you.
No.
I'm helping you out here because there are some spices that smell
As
awful but taste incredible.
As a hobbyist, rattle can.
Rattle can. That
I love the smell. Smells terrible, but something in my brain is
Right.
like, ooh, dopamine. And
That
I'm not
explains a lot.
huffing it. I'm not huffing it or anything like that.
Oh,
It's
you've
like
got
when
like some kind of maybe like Pavlovian response, and I might be misquoting the phenomena or whatever of like when you smell this, you know, it's like
Yeah,
this is
painting good. Painting make good chemical.
Yeah.
right.
So spraying means painting. So spraying smell good even though bad.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I don't. It doesn't really smell bad though, or maybe it does, and I actually
Spray
feel the
paint.
same way.
Yeah.
Maybe
no
that-
one test this, by the way.
No, God,
this is
don't.
no one go and test this.
No, don't do that.
But
But
do not try this at home.
you're talking about the actual, just the rattle cans, like not. Actually, you know what? I love smelling like the airbrush paint. Like it smells different. It smelled like a bad candy for some of the ones that I've used. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was actually the Citadel like air ones. They actually smell almost candy like, but in a bad way, if that makes sense. Like rotten candy. Does that make sense?
Going back to my teenage years, the biggest trick that teenage girls used to pull is their lip gloss smelling delicious and tasting awful.
Oh,
such
yeah.
a juke.
Yeah, that was a juke.
Such
Bring
nonsense.
us home with campfires.
No, yeah, good choice.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one, actually. I think that smells
Charcoal
good. though.
burning on the grill.
Charcoal burning on the grill doesn't smell good, but I definitely smell that too. Yeah, okay. Those are good ones too. Next up, what smell immediately makes you hungry?
That's probably the garlic for me. Like cooking garlic.
Garlic makes you hungry smelling that, eh?
True. Yeah. The food potential.
I can get about because you know it's something because
It leads to something good. Yeah.
you measure garlic with your heart. You don't need to follow recipes for that.
I listen to the spirits of my ancestors.
You know?
Bacon, French fries.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Like good French fries
is a good
actually
one.
is definitely one of mine.
That's a
And
great.
yet-
The French fries is probably the
Yeah.
king answer.
And yet, do you find it like sickening when you know how like a KFC has like that deep fried aura around it? Like it's like 10,
Oh, yeah.
10
Yeah.
like 20
Yeah.
feet away from it. You drive past it and you're like, that kind of smells gross, and yet I'm hungry now.
It's kind of where like Burger
Yeah.
King. It's like you smell the
It smells
flame
terrible.
boiling. You know they're not
Mhm.
flame broiling. I can't even say it, but you know they're not doing it over there in the
No.
way that you think that it
Yeah.
smells that it's doing it. But it's like, you know what? I might have to check that out.
Mm.
Yeah,
Chocolate also makes me hungry for chocolate when I smell chocolate.
smelling chocolate. What do you smell chocolate? Like do you
Near chocolate.
just,
You mean cocoa? Like you mean
Like-
just like cocoa?
yeah, because like you're not like
smell.
opening a chocolate
Yeah.
bar and smelling chocolate like that, right?
Almost like coffee. Yeah. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Oh, coffee's a good one too. Yeah, but it's,
Yeah, coffee's a good one.
Coffee doesn't make me hungry though, but I definitely like coffee. Don't get too into that though, because I think the next question has something to do with that. If I remember correctly.
All right, we'll just hit it. Let's go.
Okay, we'll do it now because we're about to talk about it. Do you prefer the smell of freshly brewed coffee or freshly baked bread? If you had to pick one.
It's bread 100%. Like
Really?
I don't even. Coffee is like a necessity to keep one alive, where bread is just pure luxury.
Wow.
And yeah,
That I did you mix that up, didn't you?
no,
No, I don't think you did.
I need coffee to survive. I don't need bread to survive.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
enjoy bread, and is one of my weaknesses. Like, like if it's on the table, like it's where do they have to keep bringing you
Yeah.
free loaves or whatever? They're gonna need to. They're gonna rack up some steps.
Texas Roadhouse, yeah. That kind of sweet, weird cinnamon bread. Oh, yeah. I went through a couple of
Mm.
baskets late at night once.
I think it might
but
actually depend on
Paul-
the type of coffee though.
Paul is a vehicle, and the fuel for the vehicle is coffee. So does your car enjoy the petrol that puts in it? No, it's just a vessel for production.
I don't know. I think our cars enjoy the smell of gas. I feel like
Uh,
it just hums a little bit more when I get there, right?
Yeah, mine's
there
coffee.
is something,
by the
you
way,
know, about like
I
a
pick coffee.
After all that,
Fre-
yeah, mine's coffee.
Yeah, I
freshly
pick coffee.
brewed
That was the
coffee
joke.
that's just like perfect. There is like there's a window of, I don't know, 30 seconds where the coffee I might be, you know, able to like, oh, I enjoy that, nice, you know. Then it's
But bread is just a longer lasting thing. Okay, it depends on the coffee, because there is some coffee. I get some pretty fancy coffee around here because we have a really good local brewer that I know that is just making incredible coffee, and it's if you
That
get the
sounds
right one
good.
of those, it smells so good. But I think you're right in the sense that it smells really good for a little while. Bread is more satisfying because you get to smell it like throughout the whole house for like 2 days.
and eat as much as you want.
Well, I think you'll eventually run out, but yeah. It is delicious too. All right, and the last one. The smell that most reminds you of your childhood.
It's been a long
You
time
could
ago.
eucalyptus trees.
Eucalyptus trees. You just like
Yeah,
have
Australian
one like
Australian gum trees. Yeah, because I grew up on a farm and we had hundreds of eucalyptus trees, and like just anytime you stepped out the door in the morning, there'd be that dewy smell of them, and I just absolutely reminds me of like adventures in childhood, and me and my brothers like building stuff, beating each other up, and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, adventure.
adventure.
Probably a tie between pancakes and honeysuckle.
Pancakes.
Honeysuckle,
That makes
yeah.
sense, yeah. Honeysuckle. Okay.
I
Dorian
don't know if they
Brayshaw.
grow that far north. Yeah.
Dorian's like grappa,
Grappa.
which is a very strong, usually one step above moonshine kind of spirit. At least the ones I experienced that were brewed in my
Play-Doh.
Greek
Play-Doh?
that were
Oh
brewed in
yeah.
my Greek neighbors' bathtubs.
Play-Doh definitely actually. You know what? Like the classrooms have a certain smell that if I'm ever near one, that obviously brings you back, because like most classrooms now have a very specific smell. Like you.
Paste and Clorox.
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
smell.
That's the smell.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the smell. That definitely brings you back. If I had to think of something more conventional, to be honest, actually, toast. Because that was like
Yeah.
I had that every morning for breakfast before going to school. It was just a staple of my childhood. Toast. Whenever I was sick, I had toast with butter or peanut butter on it. Like that. I think it's toast for me. I had to think about that one, but now that more I think about it, yeah, toast for sure.
All right. This is meme dream time.
It's a meme dream. Meme theme. Yeah.
That one.
That one. All right.
Meme dream.
This week's meme theme is shut up and take my money.
Ooh, good choice.
Oh,
All right.
Death Company Codex.
Yep.
It's all Death Company. Everything's Death Company.
Yeah.
1 day local 8-man team event. Shut up and take my money.
Nice. Good choice as well.
They started to pop up here, and I'm so excited for that. Just literally take my money, guys. I will give you my bank account number. Just take it.
Transformable vehicle, like a Transformer or a Veritech, preferably a Veritech, preferably painted like Skull One.
Wow,
Oh, yeah.
that's
fantastic.
very specific.
That is extremely
Paul
specific.
knows what he wants.
A non-terrible Fantastic Four film.
Ooh, yeah.
I know I'm asking.
You might
a
get
lot.
that.
I know I'm
Cross
asking
the
a
fingers.
lot. I mean, fourth time's a charm, boys.
Oh yeah. Is it really?
No, it's not. I'm expecting it to be terrible. 'Cause I
Yeah.
have 4 other examples of it being terrible. So therefore, if it's not awful, I may be happy.
Might be happy. I mean, honestly, they'll be taking your money anyway because you know you're gonna go see it.
I may not. They got the
Castling is
money.
strong.
They got the money out of me twice. I didn't go for the third. I may not go for the fourth. I may just like
You're
watch
doing
it on.
No,
Netflix
you're doing
or
it.
whatever.
You know you are.
New guard sculpts. Like just, I pretty much have all the new guard sculpts. I haven't built the ones that are terrible, as in the units that are terrible, like the bombards and stuff. But give me more new guard.
New non-character GSC units and models. Take my money.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair.
Non-character.
One
Whoa.
character.
Like,
That's
I
all you
want-
get, mate.
I want reliable transportation to the moon. That's what I.
That's fair. That's a good one.
But you're paying for it, Paul.
That's
Give
what I
me,
just-
Give me teleportation. Just for the love of God, somebody figure out teleportation.
Yeah.
Or even those like in the lieu of Futurama, those freaking tubes. I've had enough of airports. Just let me get shot through a tube. All right.
Or like
You
Galaxy
just look at
Quest.
Futurama things, so that's why.
Yes. Galaxy Quest.
Ooh.
Just get
Which,
covered in the
funnily
gel
enough,
and
is very similar to the Bifrost, isn't it?
oh yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
is. Just thought about that.
Oh, is Galaxy Quest part of the Marvel universe?
Yeah. Without the goo.
Without the goo.
They added the goo. The goo was there like.
Well, maybe the goo is there too. You just don't see it in Marvel. Huh?
There we go. That is our show this week. It's been great talking about all the events all around the world. Thank you all for hanging out and chat with us. Remember, if you are listening to us after the fact on the podcast aggregators and you made it this far and have not subscribed, please do that. Hit the subscribe button. Tell those aggregators that other people should come and hang out with us as well. Dustin, Adam, it's a pleasure talking with you all.
Always
As
is.
always.
Next week, over the next couple of weeks, we got some interesting schedules coming up with all of us for content. So keep your eyes posted about what that schedule might be. But don't worry, we won't try to leave you hanging for very long. But you're going to see some of us over the course of this month. So keep your eyes peeled, buckled into your seats. It's going to be amazing as we get closer and closer to the World Championships of Warhammer and seeing how people prepare for those events and what people decide to take there. Until then, we'll see y'all next week, everybody. Have a good night.
We'll see you then.
Boy.